Good evening, everyone. Hopefully we are on. Welcome. It's Money Date Wednesday. My name is Anna, and I've got an exciting guest for you today. So we're going to do this a little different than usual, but the idea is that we still talk about our finances, but I think there is a very important topic that needs to be connected with our finances. And so I've got Jenny Summers from Iron Therapies. Thanks for joining us today, Jenny. My friends, before we actually dive into the topic of how our physical health and our financial health have so much in common and so much crossover, let's think about why we actually get together here for our money dates. And you guys know that there are three things that I want you to stay on the top of. One of them being is, what have you spent over the last 7 days? We come here every Wednesday at 6 o'clock for a good reason, right? So knowing what your expenses have been for the last week is number one. Number two, how are you tracking with your savings goals? And number three is, how much money did you actually make? So those are the three things that I want you to remember to keep track of. Those are my reminders. That's why Money Date was born. Do you know actually, Johnny, how I came up with the Money Date idea?
Could you repeat that last part? I could not catch that. My phone
do
must be messing.
do you know why the Money Date was born and where it's coming from? It's a quite interesting concept.
No, I don't.
Yeah, so Money Date is, and I know that some of the listeners who are watching, hi Jim, good to have you here. Some of the listeners and viewers who are watching live and going to come back and watch us in replay. So Money Date was born because I wanted to have a structure. I wanted to have a system to be able to come back and check in with and see how I'm doing with my finances. I think you can relate to that when we talk about physical health, because yes, as many of us need a structure, need to have a system, because we tend to go in and go out and so forth, and life happens. So as simple as that. So that's in constant reminders is something that I want everybody to get. So with our topic today, and for those of you who are joining us live, share this out. We appreciate your comments and feedback. Drop us an emoji or something in the chat. That way we know you guys and gals are here. So the topic about personal finances and how our physical health is related. And every year, right? And we should probably have this discussion again, Johnny, January 1st, because so many of us tend to make resolutions about losing weight, doing better with our finances. And you won't believe, but I get really busy at the beginning of the year because so many people want to come in and have a plan. But what's interesting, and there was a study done by, Yahoo Health Digest, that says that 70% of Americans are much better or are much more open in gaining 10 pounds of weight versus accumulating $10,000 of debt. And I was like, wow. So is it your health or is it your finances? So that's kind of the thought about, I think you can have both. You shouldn't be picking between one or the other. And so I welcome you, Johnny, to the show. Johnny is the co-owner of a business called Iron Therapies, which focuses on helping busy moms create a life that they want and achieve their fitness goals. So, Johnny, let's kind of have a discussion today about create this parallels between what's the physical health and how that relates to our finances. Does that sound good? Okay.
Yeah, it does. And that's
great.
Really interesting fact that you brought up about Yahoo Health, about either 10 pounds or 10,000 in debt. And honestly, when I think of that, which one I would rather have is it kind of makes me shift on which one I would want. And it's really hard to focus in on one at a time. And I know it can be very time consuming to think about our finances and our fitness at the same time. It can be really a time burden on us. But if we just break it down, it's super, super easy to break down. So I just want to go into tracking, if that's okay. Can we just talk about start tracking, ways you can track? Now, with what we do with our company, we use different methods based on the person's lifestyle. because every single person has a different lifestyle and a different structured plan. So one thing we do is we do two methods to count calories, because that's where it all starts. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing. So you have to know, and I'm sure it's the same with spending. I know that's how it is for me. If you don't know,
Right.
you don't know. You're ignorant to the fact of what you're doing. So that will catch up to you too in the long run. So two ways to count your calories and to track your intake of food would be using a method called the uh, hand fist method. So basically, this hand, your hand size, use this to measure your protein. Then
Uh-huh.
you want to use your fist for your carbs and for your vegetables. So if you don't know how much you're intaking, start using that method for your meals throughout the day. Use your palm, your fist, and fist method for each meal. Have a carb, have a protein, and have a vegetable in each meal. Having a balanced diet. Another way to do it is downloading simple apps. There's so many good apps out there. MyFitnessPal works really, really well with tracking calories. So if you want to track your calories, go ahead. It's really, really easy. You can like scan barcodes. It's that simple just to be able to track your calories throughout the day. Those two are very important. Maybe even having a journal. That's awesome. And I just want to thank everybody for joining us. I'm really excited to be a part of this great on live right now. And thank you all for listening. But those are some ways that you could start tracking. Those are very, very basic and very easy for you to implement right now.
Awesome. And there's definitely, I'm going to remember that rule of thumb, Johnny, but there's definitely a crossover in terms of, okay, so, and those simple things such as how much money did you spend? And they're tracking apps all over the map. I love Mint.
Yeah.
It's very simple to use. It connects all of your accounts. It aggregates your spending every day. So every type, if you went to the grocery store or the gas station today, tomorrow morning, you're going to actually have an updated report in terms of what your totals are. There's other features that Mint has, but in terms of, okay, if you have a checking account, you have a credit card, all those things can be pulled together. So I think with finances, it's even much easier because it could be streamlined. Some people choose to do by hand tracking, but at the end of the day, right, or at the end of the month when you sit down and look at your overall finances, it's how much money did you make? How much did you spend? And what is left over? Because if you spend more than you made, nothing is left over, and we're accumulating that debt here that we talked about. And so if the goal is to save, we need to balance those. These are very basic things, and you'll be surprised how much I see with my clients, and I'm sure, Johnny, you see with yours as well. Is like, it's very easy to overeat, and it's like, the calories just go out of the window, right?
Yeah.
Pretty quick for
Very
silly
true.
things like sodas and drinks. And so whatever, right? They're called empty calories, I think. So same thing could be with finances. So tracking is something that, and I'm really grateful for the technology that we have. Everybody has and some kind of a device, right, that they get to use for whatever. So might as well to start using those kinds of apps and features to stay on track.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I think is important to mention, and because we're humans, right, we need to give ourselves time, right, and identify what our triggers are. So what would you say are, because I am probably struggling just like everybody else in terms of staying on track and knowing how much I've eaten and keeping my exercises going. But what are some of the triggers that you think and you see with your clients that we can all work on?
I would say the first one is one trigger is you'll get home after a very, very, very busy day and you'll just be like, I don't want to do anything. I just worked so hard. And that's very common because a lot of people have rough jobs and it keeps them very, very busy. So a trigger, like that's a huge one right there, that you've had a long, rough day. And even I feel that way sometimes, is that I don't have to, I worked so hard today, I'll just take a day off. So that's the days that you can't really take off. If you do, you need to modify your calories and make sure that things are low. That's a huge trigger I see with a lot of people, that they work so hard throughout the day that they don't have the time, they're just stressed or they're tired. So those are great days to get even short little workouts in. Something really short, like maybe 10 to 15 minutes to just keep your body burning. Maybe push-ups, sit-ups, squats, something body weight. You don't have to go to the gym. Just do something in your living room or your house. Or you can also just modify your calories. Don't take any carbs in that night. Just kind of eliminate those so you're not gaining weight because you're not going to be working out or whatever might be going on. Another trigger I see is honestly, it's like a mentality of sweets. Everybody loves sweets. And
you can't cut sweets. No way.
No, you can't kick those. I love ice cream. I love it. So I'm not going to say that. What I'm going to say is eat in moderation. That's the only way. Eat a smaller cup or eat a smaller portion size, but still enjoy the food. I mean, if you can't live a diet for the rest of your life, then it's not even a good diet for you. You need to have something that you can enjoy your lifestyle and still enjoy life with. So having a diet where you still have little snacks like that to override those sweet triggers or even salty triggers, something like that, will really help you guys in the long run of losing weight. One more other trigger that I think is a really big one is family meals. Family meals can sometimes be very tough because you see your family eating it and then you have the stress that, hey, I'm just going to eat because I can't beat out, I have to eat with my family. And I see this very, very common with a lot of my clients is that their family doesn't eat healthy, but they want to. So something that can do that is just portion control. Use that hand fist method for yourself. And you have to think about why you're doing it, keeping your wife present with you at all times of why you want to lose weight to help override any triggers that come your way. So those are some triggers I see, and those are some simple ways to override those triggers.
Yeah, I'm going to work on the sweets, but they're not going away. So I always want something sweet, not after breakfast, but definitely after lunch or dinner. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It can be just a little piece of something. Chocolate is my weak spot. So I just want to have a little taste and then I'm good. So, I think with the spending too is we all look at our finances, or our behavior comes across, right, and we sort of react to our money through spending, right, or through some people tend to, or most people tend to express their feelings, right, through spending. Some people express their feelings through no spending, or maybe more of hoarding or saving. So there's more of us who actually tend to spend when we're going through something, when we're stressed out, or things just tend to be overboard. So if you find yourself in those kind of triggering situations, right, and more of it is around spending, and spending tends to help us feel better about ourselves. If you get something that you really wanted, supposed to help you with whatever emotions you're going through, whether it's stress, depression or anxiety, or whatever it is. So physical things and money tend to help you with that, right? But at the end of the day, one of the ways that I found it useful, right, when there's temptation to spend unnecessary money, is to pause and ask myself a question, right? And the question is very simple: do I really need it, or do I simply want it? Right. And if I don't have a quick response to it, and I really need it, if I cannot find a reason in my mind right away to justify the fact that I really need it, it's probably something I don't really need.
That's good. Yeah.
Do I want it? Yeah.
Of course.
Just like I want that chocolate, right? Or a glass of wine.
That's it.
But, and so sometimes, so we're talking about big purchases, right? I also give myself something called a 24-hour rule. And I say, all right, if I think about this particular thing that I want to buy, it could be anything. It could be as simple as a pair of shoes. 24 hours later, if it's really stuck in my head and I woke up the next morning and still think about it, maybe perhaps I need to find ways, right, to kind of go from the category of a want to a need. So it helped me really to to sort of stop myself from making impulsive decisions. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes lots of reasons why I really want it, and I just go for it. Yeah. So if you can adapt that kind of mentality, I think you can prevent yourself from sort of unnecessary decisions, right? That's what you want, because you don't want to regret those things later. Now, one of the things that I think also kind of ties into this is to be mindful, right? So if you know your triggers, right, or those are the things that we all go through. There are situations in life. There are, life happens basically, right? As a lot of people say. But if you kind of start being more what's called mindful, right, of your environment, of your reactions, of your emotions, how can that help you do better physically? And then let's think how that kind of comes over to your financial side.
Okay, so being mindful would be one way is setting good goals, because sometimes we might overthink like our weight loss or our fitness. We might just go all in and we might say, hey, I'm going to work out 5 days a week and I want to eat great all the time. And that's a great goal, but you have to slow down and you have to realize what you're capable of and what your lifestyle can do. So you have to be mindful of what you are going to be able to accomplish in your busy day, in your busy lifestyle. So simply starting off small is a great way to be mindful. Start off with 1, maybe 2 workouts a week, and then maybe start off with maybe 2 healthier meals throughout the day, and then just build up slowly so that you won't be like fast pacing it, but you will be building up and you'll be creating the habits that you need for the long run. Another one is you need to be mindful of your lifestyle right now. What am I doing right now that is hurting me? Sleep. Sleep is something that we always overrate, but it is the most important thing for weight loss and for fitness, and this is also for muscle gain or for just looking better. Sleep is so important. There was a study done by the American Council of Clinical Nutrition. They did a study of 20 women, and they tracked them for their sleep and how much sleep. They saw how much like they would perform, how much they would intake of calories if they were deprived of more sleep. So the women that were deprived, they ate an average of 300 plus more calories a day because they were sleep deprived. So depriving yourself of that sleep can actually hurt you in the long run, and you just become more stressed, more frustrated because of it, and you just start snacking because it's just a long day, and that lack of sleep can really hurt you. So be mindful of your sleep. Make sure you're getting a good 7 to 8 hours of sleep so your body can recover and perform even better the next day. So those 2 are really, really important as far as being mindful for fitness. For financial, you go right on ahead.
I know. So, I mean, for the financial piece, I mean, I can continue talking about tracking expenses and, knowing how much money you make. I think I beat this horse to death all the time.
Yeah.
A kind of a different angle here would be, what are your goals, right? What are you trying to accomplish? Because your life goals and your financial goals have so much connection. So if you stay focused on targets, just like you set particular targets for your, for your fitness, right? For your physical looks, for whatever it is that you want to do. The same thing is with finances. And so identifying what your goals are, for example, I'll give a few examples. Retirement is a goal. It's a very specific goal. It's not just to say, hey, I want to retire when I'm 65. Well, great. Or when I want to retire when I'm 45. That's very different. So what does that mean? What kind of lifestyle do you want to have? Where do you want to live? How much money do you want to live on? So all of those things is something that you need to think about. Buying a house, for example, is a financial goal. How much money do you need for a down payment, right? When are you going to buy it? So start kind of thinking about, all right, these are the targets that I want to accomplish, right? Or our family wants to accomplish. How do we get there? So that you're not just sort of cruising along and saying, all right, my finances will take care of itself as it, as the time goes on. So having targets and having goals is one of the ways that I found helpful for my clients, right? And for myself particularly, is that, okay, here's where my focus goes, right? Because with mind, you got to give some food for thought. And once you put your mind to something, you tend to achieve more results with that. So particularly your comments about sleep is as to me, and that's, everybody's different, but some people say, oh my gosh, I do really well on 6 hours of sleep, or,
Yeah.
I am in the category where I need more sleep than that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, you could do this one night, 2 nights, right? but in the long run, it starts to play a big negative effect onto everything that you do. And same thing, those same things can trickle in your financial picture. That's why sort of the foundations, the baseline of knowing where your basic things are is very important, just like getting enough sleep is very important. So, okay, we know that being mindful is one of the things. We all need to work on it. But what would you say if we wanted to kind of, it's never too late to start. That's what I tell my clients, right? That come into to us and say, I've never done a financial plan in the past. That's all right. You can always start. Doesn't matter how old you are, as long as you really want to do it. So if we had to kind of start from scratch and sort of clean up where we are and get on a new path, where would you say are some of the suggestions you have for our listeners today?
Okay, so just a way to clean it up for us, is that what you're saying? Like, how can we clean it all up to figuring out like how we should start everything?
Yes.
Okay, all right, great. So it's a really good question. Like just starting from the beginning and knowing where to go, just figuring it all out. And yes, it is all about habits. That's awesome. Yes.
Exactly, Jim. Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. It is all about habits, and cleaning it up is perfect because you're going to start implementing those habits when you clean it up. You're going to start putting healthier habits in. And one of them that I think is really good to really start off with is adding more water into our diet. I feel like some people just don't really realize how much you can really intake with water, how much you should take in. And it's kind of one of the factors that really hinder people from their goals. There's a great app called Waterlogged, super easy to use, and you just add how many ounces of water you're drinking in a day, just to figure out where you're at and how much you actually should be drinking. So if you want to just start it all from the beginning, you need to make sure you intake your water, and you want to make sure you trim some of those snacks out. Sometimes those little snacks can really prevent us from moving forward in life. Those little snacks would be the things that can hinder us from our goals. Like you said with finances, you kind of have to look at their whole budget. You have to look at where they're at, what are they spending their most money on in this area, is it needs or wants. It's very similar to weight loss. I have to look at their diet plan and see where they're intaking the most calories, or what factor is hindering them, like the sleep factor. Could that be it? Oh, they got 6 hours this night, they're not losing weight. Okay, this might be something. Or something even more detailed is you have to think about their fiber intake. So if you really want to start from the beginning, I just start with something simple. Start with water. Add more water, and then just work on your habits. Start eating more vegetables for yourself, eating more protein, and just reduce your carbs. Very, very simple way to start off and to start seeing results really, really fast. So those are good ways to start cleaning it up and to see if you can do it and to push yourself. I know everybody knows Brian Tracy. He's a big salesperson, but he said one thing that I think everybody can implement in their life. He said the top salesmen that he worked with at the time, they used to tell themselves, the top salesman at that time, Brian Tracy's up there. Yeah. So he said that they would tell themselves almost 50 times, 2 times a day, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. Saying that about your health is something that's very, very important. Saying you can do it, you can control your health, you are in control of your health, is very powerful for you to take back your health, your nutrition, or even your finances too. Something to keep you mindful and to make sure that you're set on the right goal and the right path of life. So that's what I believe that's a good start for it. So I
love it. Yes, Brian Tracy. I've listened to lots of his tapes and for sure. So yes, a good reminder on that. As far as the finances and how do you clean it up, right? I mean, one of the things that, and I've done a number of live Facebook chats before, and one of them was detoxing your finances, right? Because you often do the detox of your body, right? Yeah. Getting rid of all the things you talked about. And so in finances, one of those things is, can you automate a lot of, for example, bill pay? Can you automate that? Can you automate your savings, right? So if you know that you have specific savings goals, to kind of put those measures in place where you know that you tend to maybe spend more money on the weekends, but you have a specific target you're trying to hit. Can you automate that savings? So every time you get a paycheck, X amount of dollars goes right into a checking or savings account. You don't even think about it. So automation, I think, is the best way to do that, right? The other thing too that I think is really important in this kind of a cleanup mode is we tend in current environment, we tend to subscribe to a lot of things, right? Subscription here, subscription there, and it's sort of, it goes on. And it's nice. I love subscriptions because it doesn't require me to think about something for too long. It keeps on being there, but it keeps on costing you. So take an inventory of what kind of subscriptions do you have, right? Are you using those programs? I don't know, whatever it is, right? Is it really benefiting you in the way that you think? And so I can guarantee you that if you made a list of all the things that you automatically pay for, you could probably find a couple of things and really say, all right, maybe I don't need to have a Netflix subscription. I'm just picking on a couple, but
yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Subscription, right? It's not a lot of money, but when you're looking at this from the grand scheme of things, right, those things could help. I think the other thing too is so many people underestimate how much income they actually need to make to reach their goals, right? Because we sort of live in this, mentality is that, okay, all I make is all I make, and then I need to sort of operate within that space. But I think in today's world where there's so much opportunity to have a side hustle, right? Think about how can you make more? Think about being creative. What can you do with your spare time? What can you do on the weekends, right? So those kinds of things is like, all right, once you start expanding, I want to think from the expansion and abundance mentality from the standpoint of cleanup, because you can always contract, right? You can cut this, you can cut that. But Johnny, how well does it work if you consistently have no carbs or, you tend to break down because those things last forever. So
yes, right.
So I think, in our finances, there's opportunities to create more versus just constantly reducing. So with that in mind, with that kind of, transition, how can we actually enjoy more? I mean, there has to be a time where all your hard work, right? If you've done all your exercises, you kept your diet, there has to be time for us to enjoy. It just can't be all, strict, no play. So what are some suggestions you have for our listeners today to actually enjoy themselves and still stay on track with their fitness goals?
Okay, that's a great question. A good way to stay on track and actually enjoy life would be to have a cheat meal. And we use a program called the Iron Academy with our clients. And in our academy, we have our weekly structured nutrition plans. And in each week, we actually have a cheat meal in every single week. Why? Because it helps people get used to diet. It helps them relax. It helps them spend time with their family, because sometimes food is associated with family, even though it shouldn't be. It's a way for them to just relax, have some family time, and just let their mind break from the diet and just live their life and then go on back to the next day. So I feel like one cheat meal, if you are pushing yourself consistently for a week, having a meal that just like you enjoy with a high protein meal, like a hamburger with French fries, that's perfectly fine. You can enjoy that. They say there's no way you'll get fat from eating one donut. And that's true. Because that one donut isn't going to get you fat. It's eating the other 12. So keep eating every single day. That's what gets you fat. So eating one cheat meal a week, maybe even two, depending on what you're doing, your active lifestyle, that's perfectly fine. That's really good for you to actually mentality, and it keeps you going longer. So I would say that's a great way just to enjoy food right now, and even have a dessert as well. That's not bad. That's going to help you guys lose your weight and stay motivated, which is the hardest thing when doing a diet or a fitness plan, staying motivated. So I highly recommend like one cheat meal a week. That's a really good recommendation. So
yeah, sounds good. I'll take that. I'll take my one donut
there you go.
when I can. and so as far as the finances go, I think there is also time when we should give ourselves that reward, right?
Yeah.
And whatever that means to you, if everybody has different goals and different ideas what the rewards mean. So if you wanted to buy that pair of shoes or take that trip that you've been thinking about, go ahead and do it. But, planning for it, right, ahead of time and sort of anticipating that, well, maybe not anticipating so much, but having an idea of if you do that, how you're going to achieve all the other things that you had in place. And so one strategy that I've seen that works for some people, not for everybody, but so think about this. If you had given yourself something that let's say you spent money on, maybe a vacation or maybe something smaller, right? Maybe you did buy a pair of shoes or, a new iPhone is coming out in a couple of weeks, right? So you kind of have to think about if it's time for upgrade. If you did spend that amount of money and it was something that was not unbudgeted or unplanned, now your goal should become is to work hard to replenish that in your savings account. So give yourself a reward, but turn around, right, and perhaps create or save more so that it's not causing this, disbalance, right, in your overall plan.
Yeah.
But I think having a structure where it's not always about save, don't spend, because it's impossible to do it like that. And that's why I think the idea of how can you create more income to give you the flexibility to enjoy things is much more attractive as opposed to always cutting your costs.
Yeah.
You got to live too. So that cheat meal, cheat spend, cheat, you've got to give yourself that. And so one of the things that we're just about out of time, Johnny, but I wanted to see, one of the things we do here on a Money Date is we share something called a money win. And so a money win is a positive moment in your life that, and usually I do this every week. So for if you think about your last 7 days, right? What have you done? Who have you talked? What kind of conversations you had with clients, family, what has been good, and giving yourself a time to pause and reflect has really been crucial for me. Not just once a week, I do this on more regular basis, but at least I look over my last week and say, okay, what's the highlight? Like, what's one thing that I'm really proud of? So is there something you want to share with us? Because I think it's cool to hear what other people are grateful for.
Yeah. One thing I think I'm grateful for, even though it might be looked at as kind of a negative thing, it's of course not negative right now. But my wife, of course, I'm super, super grateful for. But my wife actually has a gluten intolerance, so she can't eat many carbs, many breads, stuff like that, stuff that has gluten in it. And even though it's a rough thing, it's actually been a very positive thing for us because we don't keep bread in the house. We don't keep a lot of that stuff in the household. So it actually helps me with my goals of weight loss. So what is kind of a negative is actually a positive for both of us. And we're actually eating and living a little bit healthier. We eat a lot more salads and stuff like that. So I'd say a positive is her, of course. And that's probably based off of like 7 or 14, maybe a lot longer. But I just always think that's a really cool thing. Even though it's looked as a negative thing from the outside world, it's actually a really positive for us in our relationship. So that's my positive.
That's awesome. For me, it's so I've shared this last week, but I've kind of changed my exercise routine. Traditionally, I have been more of going to group exercise classes because I have no patience. I don't want to think about it. I just want to show up, do my hard work. I'm here for an hour, and I'm all in. But so last week I started. Actually, it's an app on my phone. So it's called Sweat, and
there you go.
Yeah, so it's very cool. Again, it has a structure. It tells me what I'm supposed to do every day. And so it's been kind of different approach, and because I've struggled with my classes because I would go really hard and then I crash. My body would hurt. I would feel tired, and then so I finally said, all right, if I can work on kind of specific targets. Like if I work on my upper body one day, next day maybe I have rest while I run, and then I work on my lower body. So to give myself a little bit more time to rest. And so this is my only week 2 on this program, but it's been different. I feel that it's a sustainable kind of approach as opposed to going to classes where they're great, right? High intensity classes, I feel good, but it's tough. And so I tend to go like hard, and then I drop. Hard. So it's like I have, like really inconsistent swings, and I exercise all the time, but I'm not consistent. So I'm kind of starting to see, more of something that I can maintain. So I'm grateful for that, because it is definitely a new habit I'm learning. I'm novice in terms of lifting weights and things like that. So we'll see, but it's exciting, and so I thought
awesome. That's really cool. You found something to match your lifestyle and help you stay on track and stuff. That's really cool. I've heard good stuff about that app, so that's really awesome.
So we'll see. I'm going to keep you guys posted. It has a really cool meal plan ideas too. So I'm like, I don't even have to think about what I need to eat. Fine, automate that. So yeah, it's definitely time saving, and not thinking about it, and just like, okay, today's my day off, and I can choose to do this, or I can choose to do that. So I thought it's relevant because we're talking about this topic, but in conclusion, so Johnny, why don't you share with our listeners where everybody can find you and how they connect with you, and then I'm going to close with a quote that I think is going to sort of solidify what we talked about today.
All right. Well, hey, first, I just want to thank you, Anna, for letting me be on the show today. This is really cool. Finance and fitness is so intertwined. We just don't really realize it sometimes. And even I forget sometimes. So I have to stay focused on it. So thank you so much. And thank you for everybody that watched. Thank you for spending your time and listening to us. You can find me on Facebook at Johnny Summers, Jonnie Summers. And I'm also on Instagram. And we also have a business page of Iron Therapies to help answer any questions that you guys might have about fitness, weight loss, or nutrition. Anything like that. We love helping people. So that's where you can find me.
I appreciate it, for sure. Definitely. And we'll, in the comments after the show, we'll post some of the links so people can connect with you. So I thought that Jim Rohn said it really well. Take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. And so if we all think about ourselves, right? Because if you take care of yourself, basically, everything else that you want to achieve and you want to work towards is just going to be that much easier. And so thank you, my friends. Thank you, Johnny, for your awesome comments and your wisdom in terms of how can we take better care of our bodies. I'll see everybody next week, and take care. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.